Hi guys, so for today I'll be sharing on this upcoming new launch called Promenade Peak, also known as Zion Road Parcel B. So in today's video, I'll be covering on how Promenade Peak actually compares to the other River Valley plots and also the Zion Road Parcel A. I will also compare it with the recently TOP project Riviere in 2023, and I will also cover what I think is a suitable entry PSF and quantum for this area. So stay tuned if you want to find out more. The target preview for Promenade Peak will be on 19th of July. So for those of you after watching my review and want to find out more regarding the development itself, you can scan the QR code or reach out to me at 8484-9302 via WhatsApp. Alright, hope to hear from you. Okay, so for those of you that is not familiar with what is going on in the River Valley or the Zion Road area, so this year there will be three main plots coming up, okay? So the first one will be Promenade Peak over here. So this is Zion Road Parcel B, target preview is 19th of July. The next two plots, which is Zion Road Parcel A and also River Green, they will be launching on August 2025, and then for Zion Road Parcel A will be third quarter of 2025. Just to give you an overview of what is coming up over here, and then we have River Valley Green Parcel B, and then River Valley Green Parcel C. So just to take note, there will be the total of 5 plots coming in this area. So for the GLS tender results for River Valley and Zion Road area, Zion Road Parcel A, April 2024, PSF PPR is 1202, River Valley Green Parcel A, June 2024, 1325 PSF PPR, Zion Road Parcel B, August 2024, 1304 PSF PPR, River Valley Green Parcel B, just tendered at February 2025, PSF PPR of 1420. So for this video, I'll be covering mainly on Promenade Peak, which is also known as Zion Road Parcel B. So it's been confirmed having 593 units. It is 63 stories high. Okay, so this is a snapshot of the Havelock area near Promenade Peak. And just now, like I mentioned, it has 63 floors and 596 units. So this entire development only rests on one tower. So do bear in mind, I think most of the developments here, they probably have 1 or 2 blocks. But for this one, for the number of units, it only has one tower. That's why it goes all the way up to 63 floors. And for today's video, we'll be comparing it very closely to Riviere, because for Tribeca and Mirage Tower, they're all much older. Okay, so now looking at the land bid price for Promenade Peak, you can see over here we only have 2 bidders, and they are all green properties coming in at 1304 PSF PPR, and then Hong Leong Holdings coming in at 1180 PSF PPR. So for all green properties, right, they came in about 10.5% higher than the second bidder. Actually, I think it's very subjective on whether the developer overpaid for this plot, because even at 10.5% higher, right, I think let's say if someone came in at even 1250 or 1200 PSF PPR, the government might actually not let the land be sold. Over here, we can see what was the price from the second bidder, the gap, but we don't know what is the reserve price for the government to actually let go of this particular plot. And over here, I have the most recent launches. So Bloomsbury Residences 1191 PSF PPR, averaging at about 2.4k PSF. So this is a 2.07x. OMG, One Marina Gardens 1402 PSF PPR. Launch day, they sold about 2009 PSF, so coming in about 2.1x. And then last but not least, we have Lentor Central 982 PSF PPR. And, launch day is about 2002 PSF, so coming in at 2.24x. So for the calculation moving forward, I'll be using Lentor Central as the most realistic, because for Lentor Central, it is almost 100% sold out on day one. I think it makes sense because we haven't accounted for the higher floor units at Bloomsbury Residences and also One Marina Gardens. So now using the same formula, I will give you an estimate, right, based on 2.24x, and then calculating with the land rate that the developers have bidded for Zion Road and River Valley Green area. And then this is what I can come up with based on the land price. So for Zion Road Parcel A, we kind of can estimate it's in the 2006-2007 range, but do bear in mind this includes the long stay service apartment, so we don't know how much the developer will actually put in terms of the cost for those. I don't think you should expect in the 2006-2007 range. Very likely it should still be in the 2009 onwards. And now River Valley Green Parcel A. So 1325 PSF PPR, we estimate to be 2968 PSF range. Zion Road Parcel B, which is Promenade Peak, 1304 PSF PPR, we estimate the launch price to be around 2920 PSF. River Valley Green Parcel B, 1420 PSF PPR, and then we estimate the launch to be 3180 PSF. Okay, so now I will be going into the resales nearby, which is Riviere. Just to give you some context in the area. So for the resale over here, I've also done up the analysis for OL Hill, the Avenir, Martin Modern, and for today's video, I'll be sharing more on Riviere itself. But other than that, you need to take note on the resales nearby, and I definitely think for River Valley, Zion Road area, the resales nearby, there is a lot of opportunities. So if you feel like maybe you cannot wait so long for the new launches, you need to wait 4 years, you can feel free to hit me up if you are considering for the resales in the area. Okay, so now looking at the site area for Promenade Peak itself, you can see we are surrounded by Mirage Tower. So this one TOP 1996 is a freehold development, District 9 and CCR. Then the next one, Tribeca, 2010 TOP, freehold, District 9 and CCR also. Last but not least, we have Riviere, and this one TOP in 2023. It is a 99-year lease and it is District 3 and RCR region. Across the Robertson River, and then we have Rivergate, TOP 2009, freehold, District 9 CCR. So this is where I get a little bit confused, seeing that actually these two plots, Mirage Tower and Tribeca, they are actually under D9, but then Riviere is D3, and then after that across the river will be D9 again. So very likely, I checked the blending site, right, for Promenade Peak, we are looking at Bukit Merah. So under Bukit Merah should be RCR and D3. This one I think just wait for developer to give further confirmation, but from what I see, it should be under RCR and District 3. So just something for you guys to take note. In this area, it's a bit confusing. So now, right, when I look at the PSF PPR versus the estimate launch price, which one do I think is the more value for money, right? I really think River Green, which is also River Valley Green Parcel A, the one that is going to be launching in August this year, 380 units, right? I think this is the more value for money plot because this one, you're only paying slightly higher than this Promenade Peak Zion Road Parcel B plot. Then I think just for the additional top up, you can get a River Valley plot instead of a Zion Road plot. Of course, both are still within 1 km of the primary school, but overall, I think in terms of the entry price, the River Valley plot does make more sense because you just top up a little bit more. But of course, we need to see how much the developer will actually launch at, and also what is the site plan and the development layouts, all this. So those are the other factors. But I think in terms of entry price, we are looking at very, very close already because I don't think the developers can price it too far from each other, considering there's going to be like additional 4 more plots, whichever launch first. Yeah, so I don't think the developer also want to hold onto the inventory for too long. Another reason why I think the River Green plot is going to be a value for money purchase because look at the PSF PPR. So this one, they sold in June 2024 at 1325 PSF PPR. But then you see at the Parcel B for River Valley Green already transacted at 1420 PSF PPR. So just based off this, right, the land price, we already see a gap of 95 PSF PPR, which means paper gains for owners that bought the River Green parcel product. The only thing that can highlight for the River Green parcel is that it only has 380 units. So for a lot of the buyers, if they are considering maybe 1 or 2 bidders or even 3 bidders, the moment their queue number is not good, right, very likely they have no chance to buy this development anymore. So I think in that aspect, Promenade Peak does offer a suitable alternative because it has 500 plus units, almost 600, and we are looking at almost $120 PSF PPR in terms of the land bid price, and this one will translate to $100 to $150 PSF. So this in a sense can also provide you paper gains already even if you enter the River Green plot or the Promenade Peak plot. Okay, so for those of you that is considering a 1 or 2 bidder at Promenade Peak, right, do take note, this is what the situation is at Zion Road Parcel A. This is a land bidder by CDL, and this has a service apartment of minimum stay of 3 months, okay? So this is a 164,000 square feet land plot, and this one can yield up to 1,000 plus residential units. Of course, this is inclusive of the service apartment component. And Nearby, right, I actually already see this Louis Kane Service Residences at Havelock area. So on top of Zion Road Parcel A, you need to compete with another service apartment over here. And I did check the prices there. Of course, if you are looking at a 1 or 2 year lease at Promenade Peak, I don't think you're going to be losing out to this service apartment. Very likely you will be losing out to those lease that is 6 months and below lah, because I think they will probably take the market share, and most landlords, they wouldn't want to sign a lease of less than 1 year. So this is my overall conclusion lah. Smaller units at Promenade Peak may face future competition for rental income with Zion Road Parcel A, with the service apartment, and also the current service apartment over here. But definitely they cannot compete on pricing, but only on the lease duration lah. I think Real Valley all along the rental has been quite strong, even though they already have this service apartment. Okay, so now I'll be touching on the most recently TOP project over there called Riviere. Here, the launch day, right, for Riviere, they actually started the preview at 2580 PSF. Okay, and this was back in May 2019. And the launch day itself, 31st May to 4th June, they sold only 28 out of the 455 units. Later, I will share more on the analysis for the pricing for Riviere. And for those of you that are familiar with this area, right, a lot of you will have known this is the former Zouk at Jakim area lah. If you're my age group, more or less you will have went Zouk at least once, I think. And other than that, it also has a service apartment component to it. So I think over here, it's going to be very similar to what we see for Zion Road Parcel A. For 2019, if you sold only 28 out of 455 units, right, means the take-up rate is really very poor. We're looking almost like 5% only. Okay, so next time I want to compare for Riviere versus the Promenade Peak's land size. So for Riviere, you look at the land size, 145,000 square feet of land. And then Promenade Peak, we're looking at almost 100,000 square feet in terms of land. And then for the Zion Road Parcel A, 164,000 square feet. And for Riviere, you only have 455 units when you compare to Promenade Peak is 596. So Promenade Peak is going to be slightly more dense as compared to Riviere itself. And now if you take a look, right, when I put all the parcels side by side, you can see for River Valley Green Parcel A, about 100,000 square feet also. So this Promenade Peak and the Parcel A will be very similar in size, but this one only has 380 units. So you can already see the difference in the density, because this one is 500 plus, almost 600 units, whereas this one only 380. And then you can see for River Valley Green Parcel B, this is 126,000 square feet. You can ignore the number of units here because this is from the old annex. You just need to take note that this land size is 126,000 square feet. Okay, so now we're going to be touching on the Riviere's residential analysis. So 54% comes from Singaporeans, 22% foreigners, 22% PR. Based on the purchaser's nationality, right, a significant portion actually comes from foreign demand. Back then, only 54% Singaporeans purchased the development lah. And you can see for the purchaser address, right, 86% comes from private side, and then only a small 13% comes from HDB. So for the buyers at Riviere, right, I think you don't have to worry too much about these people competing with you, because right now, especially the foreigners, they are slapped with a very high percentage of ABSD, looking at 60%. So very likely this 22%, right, will be immovable supply. People won't be selling on, because the moment they sell, I don't think they can even buy something cheaper, factoring in the 60% ABSD. And for the Singaporeans, you will be only competing with about half of the development. The PR, the ABSD also went up compared to 2019 period lah. And over here, this is a site plan of Riviere. 2 blocks over here, basement car park, and then the lap pool. Other than that, these few blocks, right, is the old Zouk, and also is a conservation area for the service apartment. So this, I think, will be something similar to what to expect at the Zion Road Parcel A block. And now for the unit mix at Riviere, 1 bedrooms, 560 square feet, 70 units. 2 bedrooms, 818 to 840, and looking at 140 units. 3 bedrooms, 1141 square feet to 1711 square feet, 175 units. 3 plus study, 1249, 35 units. 4 bedrooms, 2002 square feet and 35 total units. So I think in terms of unit mix, right, the developer has actually planned it quite well. We are looking at almost a 50-50 kind of ratio. So here about 200 plus, and then here also about 200 plus. So I think for this Riviere itself, the unit mix definitely is not an issue. Okay, so over here, this is just a summary, right, of the rental yield performance of Riviere itself. So we are only looking at transactions in the past 1 year. So for one bedders, right, you can see there hasn't been any transaction. Same for the four bedders. So for these two, we won't be able to calculate the rental yield. But for the one bedders, the range is between 5K to 6.2K. PSF for the rent, we are looking at about $9 to $11 PSF. Now for the two bedders, the sales range we are looking at between 2.3 million up to 2.5. So the PSF range transacted, we are looking at between 2.8K PSF to 3K PSF. Rental range between $6,000 to $8,500. And then the rental yield, we are looking at an average of 3.59% based on the transacted sales price. So of course, for the owners that bought earlier, you won't be buying at this price range because these are what I would say the past 1 year transactions. The first owner definitely bought it much lower. And then now for the three bedders, transacted between 3.25 million all the way up to 5.1 million. So PSF range between 2007 range to $3,000. Rental range 8,004 to 14,200. Average yield we are looking at is also about 3% plus 3.19% here. And then last but not least, for the four bedders, there hasn't been any transaction for the sale, but for the rental, we are looking at between 16.5K to 19.8K. So for today, those of you that are looking at Promenade Peak for rental yield, right, you can kind of gauge the bedroom types that you buy. And I think in today's market, definitely the rental's a bit more soft. This is already on the slightly more conservative side for rental income. Okay, so now I'm going to be covering on the one bedroom sales and rental transactions. So for Riviere, right, the one bedrooms, there has been 0 units sold since TOP in 2023. I went to do a check. And as of today, we are looking at 9 listings available. And the range is between 1.6 million asking price to 1.75 million. Average price we are looking at for the asking is about 1.673. So this tells me that, right, even at the lowest PSF and price, quantum of 1.6 million and the PSF of 2857, right, you still can't find a buyer for the one bedders. So this is something for you to take note, especially if you're looking to buy a one bedder here. And the fact that there's been no units sold since TOP, right? Today, if you are looking at Promenade Peak or even the River Valley plot, you need to be prepared to really rent out the unit instead of trying to sell in the future, because if the owners are very likely, some of the owners will have been trying to sell for the past 2 years already. Be very clear in your strategy. If you're entering Promenade Peak for the one bedders, just aim for the rental straight away. Don't try to go and sell, because very likely, I think the units here are not going to move that well. And I think because the buyers, they are looking in this area, right, they already saw the land bid price for Promenade Peak and also the River Green plot, then they might be more cautious to enter a resale at around 2008, 3000 plus PSF. So this is something you need to take note. For the rental rise, we are looking at $5,000 for the transacted one, lowest average of 5.3K, and then the highest rent of 6,200. In the past 1 year, we have a total of 20 rental transactions. So this can be coming in the form of 1 or 2 year lease. And current listings for rent, we have 15 for rent right now. So it starts from 4,850 for the lowest asking, average of 5,190, and also the highest asking at 6,003. So this of course can be for rent and for sale at the same time. So over here, I did a total summary of all the units added together. If I include all the units for sale, for rental and transacted rental, we are looking at 44 units on the market for rent or for sale out of the 70 total units. Do take note that there could be duplicates, and also there could be rental units that's not on the market because they might have been transacted the year prior for a 2 year lease. So this one at least gives you a rough estimate. About half of the units is being for sale or for rent, and probably the other half will be for own stay. Okay, so now looking at 2 bedrooms transactions for Riviere, you can see for the lowest sale, we are looking at is 2.32 million, PSF 2836, and then average price of about 2.371 million, average PSF 2898, and then the highest price transacted 2.5 million at 3k PSF. A total of 5 units sold in the past 1 year between 818 square feet to 840 square feet. Current listings for sale, we have 15 units and lowest asking price 2.36 million, PSF 2885, average price of 2.4 million, and then the PSF is 2.9k PSF. Highest asking price 2.7 million at 3.3k PSF. So same thing as I mentioned for the one bedders just now, very likely for buyers they are interested in this Real Valley Zion Road area, they'll be looking at the new launch coming up at Promenade Peak to see how much the developers are launching at. Because right now, if the land already estimate at that PSF PPR, and then based on my price estimate, it should be maybe starting from 2.9k PSF, then this will be very close to the listing asking prices at Riviere. Unless the developer really protect the resale prices there, right? Then imagine the developer they launch at 3.1k, 3.2k PSF, then definitely I think Riviere the prices are protected. But if they launch almost the same price at Riviere, right, then definitely all these owners will be stuck for a long time. But at least I still see the take-up rate, at least it is slightly better than the one bedders, because here there has still been 5 units sold in the past 1 year, and you haven't even include the 2023 transactions because only past 12 months and here only got 15 listings for sale. The ratio is slightly better than the situation for the one bedders. Next up, we have the lowest transacted rent at $6,000, about $7 PSF. Average rent about 7.1k, $8 per square feet, and then the highest transacted rent at 8.5k, $10 PSF. So in the past 12 months, we have a total of 32 units rental transactions, and of course, this can be a 1 or 2 year lease as well. Last but not least, the current listings for rent, 21 units over here, and the range is lowest are asking at 6.7k, $8 per square feet. Average range is about $7,000 for asking price, $8.50 per square feet, and then the highest asking for the 2 bedders, we are looking at 7.7k, $9 per square feet. And of course, it can be for rent and for sale at the same time lah. And over here in summary, right, you can see out of the 140 2 bedders here, right, I just add up everything together, we have about 73 units lah. Of course, there's a plus minus and maybe some duplicates, but just to take note, about half of the units are participating in the market, be it for sale or for rent, and then the other half will be for own stay. Okay, so right now, because there has been some transactions for the 2 bedrooms, I want to touch on the profits for this 2 bedroom. So you can see, right, the one I want to highlight is this 1st June 2019 purchase. So this one is bought on the launch day itself, and they actually enter at $2,900 per square feet. Yes, it can be a higher floor unit, it can be maybe the top floor, all this, but you can see today, right, 2025, they only sold at about $3,000 per square feet and netted a profit of only $89,000 over a 5-year period. So I definitely think for a 5-year period, right, 89,000 and also look at the capital outlay, they purchased at 2.4 million, right, to net only 89,000 gain over 5-year period, I don't think you can even cover your buyer's stamp duty and the interest payment to the banks. So this really stressed the importance of entry price. And you can see over here, some of the units they bought in 2020, 2021, right? And look at the entry price. It's between 2.5k, 2.6k PSF, even for the 2021 ones. And all these they enter almost $400 to $300 per square feet cheaper than the launch day. So that's why I always highlight the importance to my clients to not FOMO on the first day, especially on the launch, and more importantly to analyze, right, whether you're overpaying for the development at the current pricing or is it a fair value price. So this one definitely you have to compare with what are the prices transacted in the CCR and the RCR region based on the new launches. So this one I will cover later on in the video in terms of the chart. Then you can see the price gap back in 2019 and also 2020 and 2021 period. And you can see as a result, right, of the lower entry price and even a shorter holding period, they netted a higher profit of 260,000, 220,000, this one 210,000, and the last one is 93,000. Even though it's not that fantastic gains when you compare to the other launches in the same time period, but overall, at least you know that the profit margin is slightly higher than what we see for those that bought at a higher pricing for the launch day. Alright, so next up we have the 3 bedrooms sales and transactions for Riviere. And then over here, we have the lowest transacted for the 3 bedrooms, 3.25 million at 2770 PSF. Average transaction pricing is at 3.845 million, 2.9k PSF, and the highest transacted, we're looking at 5.1 million at $3,000 per square feet. So the sizes range between 1141 to 1711 square feet and 4 units sold for the past 1 year. Current listings for sale, we have 23 units. Lowest asking price, 3.5 million at 2.7k PSF. Average asking price, 3.9 million at $3,000 per square feet. And then the highest asking price of 5.28 million at $3,200 per square feet. So when you compare just based on the ratio here, right, I would say the 3 bedders, even though the PSF are quite attractive at $2,700, right, you can see that actually the ratio for the 2 bedders in terms of the transactions and the number of units for sale, it seems to be slightly better. But of course, I never go and check how many duplicates there are for these 23 units. There could be quite a few and even more duplicates than the 2 bedders. If you want to have a safer gauge, you can just take the number of transactions. Okay, next up we have the lowest transactions for the rental, 8,400 at $7 plus PSF. Average rental transacted 10.2k at $8 per square feet. And then the highest transacted rent, 14.2k at $9 per square feet. So over here we have 18 rental transacted, and these are usually on a 2-year lease lah. I don't think most of the 3 bedders here will be signing a 1-year lease. Okay, last but not least, the current listings for rent, we have 26 listings. Lowest asking rent at 9.4k, $8 per square feet. Average asking $11,600, about $8 plus per square feet. And highest asking for the rent, 16.9k at $9 plus PSF. Also can be for rent and for sale at the same time. So I tabulated everything. So out of the 210 units over here, we have a total of 71 units participating in the market for sale and for rent. So do take note there could be also duplicates as well. But overall, the percentage of the number of 3 bedrooms participating in the market is a lot lower as compared to the 2 bedders and the 1 bedders. Okay, so next up, I also want to cover on the 3 bedroom profit margins for Riviere. So this kind of gives you a good gauge, right? If you want to enter at Promenade Peak, what kind of profit margins or entry price do you take note of? You can see this one enter at 2019, $2,900 per square feet, and then they ended up with about 130,000 profit. Whereas the ones entered later, look at the purchase price of 2,300 plus. They ended up with a profit of 550,000. Of course, this one, this buyer that bought in 2021, they bought almost 2 years later than the previous buyer at November 2019. And the sale PSF, they sell at 2,800. This one should be a lower floor unit lah. So this further emphasizes on the importance of entry price. And you can see this one, the gap is almost $500 per square feet. And it is bought 2 years later some more. You need to know, right, how to actually determine what is a suitable entry price. So later on, I will touch on this using the facts and figures, and you compare to the pricing for 2019 and 2021. And last but not least, we have a loss recorded for the 3 bedrooms over here. So this 1711 square feet unit, right, they bought in 2023, and I think for some reason the owner maybe liquidity issue or they forced to sell lah. So they sold in February 2025, and then the holding period was only 1 year plus, and they resulted in a loss of about 135,000. Okay, so next up we have the 4 bedroom sales and transactions for Riviere, 2002 square feet. 0 units sold since DOP in 2023. So for those buyers looking for 4 bedrooms and you want to flip one, very likely you're not going to be easily finding a buyer, especially for this quantum and range. And right now we have 5 listings on sale. Lowest asking price is 6.18 million at $3,000 per square feet. Average asking price 6.3 million at 3.1k PSF. And the highest asking is 6.9 million at 3.4k PSF. Now for the transacted rentals, 16.5k for the lowest rent at $8 per square feet. Average transacted rent 17.6k at 850 PSF. And then the highest transacted rent at $19,800. So in the past 1 year, we have a total of 3 rental transactions and very likely they are in 2-year lease. And current listings for rent, we have 2 listings on the market right now. They are both asking at 18,000. So this could be the same unit and duplicate also. It can be for rent and for sale at the same time. So same thing over here, I just take the total number of units participating in the market for the past 1 year. We have 10 out of 35 total units, so do take note for any duplicates. So I think some of you watching the video might be thinking, wow, I buy this River Valley or Zion Road area, right? The return's so low despite buying at one of the best times during Singapore's past history for property market. And 2019 to 2021, honestly, even if you bought any resale in the market, right, you probably can get even higher returns than this Riviere. So right now, I just want to share with you why most of the units here has such a low annualized returns despite its good entry timing. Okay, so now I have a chart, right, that is for Riviere versus RCR and CCR new launches for all the bedroom types. For the blue color line, this is CCR. The red color line is Riviere. Yellow color line is RCR. So now I want to zoom in, right? You can see when Riviere actually launched in Q2 2019, the average price for the launch day, they sold about 2.9k PSF. And back then, the new launches for the CCR, they were transacting about $3,000 per square feet. And then for RCR, it was about 1.9k to 2k PSF. So for the launch day pricing, Riviere to CCR, we are looking at about a 4% price gap. And then from the RCR to Riviere, right, we're looking at almost a 32% in terms of PSF gap. And do bear in mind, these are all new launches. This is not even across the entire resale region. And then you can see overall the trend for CCR, it continued to went down. At 2020, right, some of the CCR even transacted at 2.4k for the new launches. And then for Riviere, it's still holding at about 2.7k, 2.6k range. In this case, right, this is transacted even higher than the CCR pricing. So back then, it has a very big gap from the RCR pricing and also a very small gap in CCR. So I think this is one of the main reasons why it attributed for the lower profit margins for Riviere. I think of course there could be a few contributing factors, maybe the layout, maybe the site plan, facing, etc. I think in the end for my clients, right, I would say pricing is the majority of the factor to determine your profits. And if you fast forward to today, right, you can see in 2025, Riviere pricing is transacted about 2.9k PSF, 2.8k PSF, whereas for RCR region, right, the average new launch already caught up to this pricing. And the average RCR launch price now is about 2.7k to 2.8k PSF. For CCR, you can see there's a big spike okay? But if you don't take the big spike, right, I probably think the average for the CCR pricing in the past few quarters, we are looking at slightly above 3.1k to 3.4k range. So let's say, right, this Promenade Peak, they launch at around 2.9k to maybe 3k PSF range. This one is really very close to the RCR pricing already. So there is no longer this big gap from the RCR prices. And I think it's going to be quite attractive in terms of price gap. Now we are always going to be talking about price gap because if you're already in the market and you know the past few launches even the Ori can hit $3,000 per square feet. So this is something that you need to bear in mind. And of course, this one is non-harmonized pricing. You need to take note that Promenade Peak will be harmonized PSF Okay, so even if you minus 5%, 7% to do the comparison, right, I think definitely the price gap is no longer as big as it was in 2019. Okay, so now I'll be comparing for Riviere's 2 bedrooms versus the RCR and CCR new launch. So yellow color will be the CCR new launch, red color will be Riviere, blue color will be RCR. Okay, so main thing is you can see back in Q2 2019, right? Riviere actually launched about 2.8k PSF for the 2-bedders. CCR pricing was about 2.9k PSF for the new launch 2-bedders, and then RCR new launch 2 bedrooms is about 1.9k PSF. Between the gap to the CCR is 3%, and then the gap to the RCR we're looking at 30%. So over here, like I mentioned, big gap from RCR, small gap from CCR, and then 3% and 30%. Okay, so next up is the reverse RCR versus CCR new launch 3 bedrooms. So yellow color will be RCR, blue color will be Riviere, and red color will be CCR. And over here for the 3 bedrooms, it was quite shocking to me because for the red color, right, CCR pricing on the launch day of Riviere, right, the CCR actually was trading at 2.7k PSF, but the launch day pricing transacted for Riviere, right, was at 2.9k PSF. If you were a buyer buying in this area, you are buying a RCR plot higher than a CCR plot, right? What do you think is your chances for a profit margin that is high? Will be significantly lower lah. And they bought at 7% higher than the CCR new launch 3 bedroom pricing. Compared to the RCR 3 bedders, the price gap was about 38%. And that time the 3 bedders they were trading at around 1.8k PSF. Riviere's PSF was higher than the CCR average new launch, and it was a big gap from the RCR and is a higher and small gap from CCR pricing. I think just to name a few projects that probably outperform Riviere by a lot more, I think in the CCR region, you have Copa and Newton, Leiden Green, the Avenir. Then for RCR, you probably have like Normanton Park, Penrose, just to name a few lah. I think, of course, when you compare the annualized return, very likely they should be clocking in higher than Riviere for most of the units. I'm not saying all the units, yeah, but I think at that point of time, I don't think Riviere was priced correctly. That's why you saw the price trending down until 2020, 2021 time period. Then once the unit started to clear off over here, right, then it started to pick up again. Okay, last but not least, we have the Rivieres versus the RCR and CCR new launch for the 4 bedrooms. So yellow color will be RCR, red color will be Riviere, and blue color will be CCR. So now when we zoom into the launch day, right, Q2 2019, you can see actually for the 4 bedders for Riviere, I think they got in at a pretty good deal because this presented about a 20% price gap with the current CCR launch at that time. And then to the RCR 4 bedroom pricing, $1,700 per square feet, we're looking at a 38% gap. So when we compare to the CCR, of course, it does look like a good deal. But on hindsight, when you compare to the RCR, it does seem like for the same RCR region, you're paying almost $1,000 per square feet higher. So I think just looking at the price gap itself, definitely based on CCR, it does seem like it's a good deal. But when you look at RCR, the pricing is not that fantastic. That's why I say, even though the price gap between the RCR is still quite high, I think when compared to the CCR, it's still quite reasonable. That's why I think this is the best value type out of the different bedroom types. But of course, you can see today, right, they have a problem exiting because there hasn't been any transactions for the Riviere. Even though the CCR pricing, we already hit a high of $4,300 per square feet. And for the RCR, already about 2.4k, 2.5k for the new launch. So some overall thoughts are, I really think based on my estimate for the pricing, right, it does kind of look scary, especially for owners staying at Riviere, because if really my price estimate comes out to be true between 2.9k to 3.1k PSF range, right, I think it's going to be quite close to the resale pricing there. If the developer want to kill off the Riviere resale pricing, they can definitely launch at that price. But if developers are actually greedy and they want to price it higher, I don't see an issue here because they already have some price support from the Riviere area and the River Valley transactions. And I definitely think if you're a buyer today looking at this Zion Road area or River Valley area, even at the resale, right, as long as you can get a good deal, actually I'm quite confident you should be able to get some decent gains, especially when the new launch are creating a new ceiling. But do take note, if the new launch is actually very close to the resale over here, then you might be buying at a higher price, because no way your future buyer will be paying at the same price for the older resale versus a new launch. Okay, so is there an opportunity, right, when we look at Riviere versus CCR and the RCR? So you can see back then, we are looking at a gap of about 4% to the CCR and then 31% to RCR pricing. But then we fast forward to today, right? Actually, the gap between Riviere towards CCR new launch pricing is about 20% already. And for RCR pricing between the new launch and Riviere, right, only a mere 1.4%. So this really shows how much the entire market has moved. And I think that's why Riviere today presents a unique opportunity depending on what is the pricing you get in. Because now the new launch really give price support towards Riviere. Okay. And I think a lot also depends on how much the developers launch the Promenade Peak and also River Green plots. Alright, so if you like my video so far on the analysis on Riviere and also Promenade Peak area, do feel free to leave a like and subscribe. And also you can check out my YouTube channel for the other videos that I've done for the analysis on the previous new launches. And also if you are keen on Promenade Peak or Real Valley plots, you can scan the QR code or WhatsApp me at 84849302 for exclusive preview coming up in July. Alright, so I look forward to hear from you guys. Bye!